In this post, I'm going to tell you a story about the time that I gave some really horrible interviews, and the reason was because my mindset was completely wrong. Hi friend, Tim Lannon here from animationinsights.com. During the spring and summer of 2003, I was out of work and looking for a job. Unfortunately, I gave some really horrible interviews during this time. My mindset was in a really bad place. To understand why, we have to go back about a year and a half to 9/11. I was working for Big Idea Productions at the time. Because of 9/11 and a lot of other things that were going on at the company began to hurt financially. I lived for a year and a half wondering if I was going to lose my job. Wave after wave of layoffs happened and I had to say goodbye to a lot of good friends. I wasn't sure if the company I loved working for was even going to make it. Unfortunately, after a year and a half of all that stress, the company did in fact go bankrupt and I did lose my job. Now, a similar thing had happened to me just 3 years ago when the first studio I ever worked for also ran out of money, went bankrupt and closed its doors, and I lost my job. So my first two experiences in the industry ended in very similar ways. The company ran out of money, I got laid off, and the future felt very uncertain. As I record this, a lot of people are experiencing something similar with the COVID-19 pandemic. The United States is pretty much shut down, the economy is hurting, the stock market has crashed, and the future feels really uncertain. If you're not careful, this can mess with your mindset pretty badly and lead to some horrible interviewing. So in 2003, I was unemployed, bitter, depressed, and I did not want to work for another company that was just going to run out of money and lay me off. Unfortunately, because of this bitterness and depression, I interviewed very poorly. I remember one phone interview I had, which happened to be at 9 o'clock at night. I was tired, I was reclined while on the phone, I was depressed, so I came across as very unenthusiastic about the job. Needless to say, I didn't get an offer. Another interview I had was in person in Seattle for a game company. It went pretty well at first, and I was more enthusiastic about this position, but it still kind of ended up going wrong in the end. Because both companies I'd worked for in the past had gone bankrupt, I was a little bit curious about the financial state of this company. Before my interview was over, I asked to speak with the owner of the company. I don't remember exactly what I asked. It was probably something about, where his company was going to be in 5 years and how financially stable was his company. Stuff I had really no business asking. Whatever it was, I could tell he didn't like my questions, and I don't blame him. That probably blew the interview. I didn't get an offer. It seems like an obvious mistake now, but at the time I didn't realize how badly I was blowing it because I was in such a poor mindset. So what snapped me out of it? Believe it or not, it was a part-time job at Costco giving out food samples. I took the job because I needed to bring in some income and the hourly rate was pretty good. It was nothing like what I would make as an animator, but it was something to hold me over in the meantime while I was looking. Turns out it was the best thing I could have done. The Costco job did a couple of things for me. Number one, it humbled me. I needed to be reminded that animation work was a privilege, not a right. If I had to go through another company laying me off, it was worth it for the time that I got to work in animation, rather than having to work in something unrelated, like handing out food samples. It's hard to be full of yourself when you're wearing a beard net. Yes, I had to wear a beard net every day. I just couldn't bring myself to shave my beard for a part-time job. Number two, and this was the most important benefit, it got me out of my own head, and it got me talking to people again. I had to pitch products. I had to call out to complete strangers and say, hey, come over here and try this. I had to be friendly, relatable, a little obnoxious, and I had to sell. And that's not easy for an introvert. But selling is what you're doing when you're going to an interview. You're selling yourself. You're selling your value to the company. So this really helped me in my interviewing a lot, and I started to interview a lot better after this. I was more humble, I was more upbeat, I was more outgoing and enthusiastic, and soon after I got a job offer to work at Real Effects, where I happened to be for 9 years. So all that worry about getting laid off again was for nothing. I was really fortunate and didn't even see it because of my mindset. Mindset makes a big difference. So how is your mindset? Are you feeling optimistic about your job search? Or are you feeling afraid and concerned about the current state of the world and the economy? Are you feeling discouraged or maybe even a little depressed? Maybe you've been looking for work and had no luck so far. Maybe you're feeling upset that you had to end school working remotely and didn't get to graduate with your friends. It's totally normal to feel upset about these things. But if you don't face them, they could put you in a funk that messes up your interviewing. So mindset and interviewing are just 2 of the 10 items on my animation job market readiness checklist. The checklist is free, and you can get it just by clicking the button below. When you click the button, you'll be taken to a page that looks like this. Enter your name and your email address, and I'll send you the checklist. Be sure to look out for the confirmation email that comes first. You need to click the confirmation button. Then within 10 or 15 minutes, the checklist should arrive in your email address. I promise I won't spam you, and I promise to protect your privacy. I just need your best email address so I can send you the checklist.